welcome back to my channel. It's Ruth here, aka Ruthie Patootie, and today I'm bringing you a video where we talk all about porosity. We're going to talk about the importance of knowing about porosity, how to determine what kind of porosity you have, and then finally what to do with that information, how you can apply it to how you moisturize and care for your hair. So if you're interested to hear what I found and what I would like to share with you all, then keep on watching the video. So first, let's start with defining porosity. Porosity, essentially, in layman's term, is how easily your hair strands are to receiving moisture. Physically, what that means is your hair strands has shafts on it. So how open or how closed is it to allowing moisture to let into the hair strands? Okay, so on the spectrum, you can have a low porosity, meaning your hair is not very open to receiving moisture. It has shafts that are very flat. You can have normal porosity, and you can have high porosity where these shafts stay open. They let moisture in, but just as easily as moisture gets in, it also gets out. So how do you determine what porosity you have? Are you low? Are you high? Are you in between? Do you have multiple porosities? Because I found that it is possible to have multiple porosities. So there are several tests that you can administer to yourself to determine what kind of porosity your hair has. The first test that I did is seeing how long it takes your hair to get wet in the shower. So when you start your wash day routine, for instance, you hop in the shower, you turn it on, you get your groove on, you have your playlist, your candles, everything. The mood is set, okay? It is set. And then you let the water start running through your hair. But it's not really running through your hair. It's kind of just like sitting on top of your hair. If that happens to you, you have low porosity. However, if you get in there, you wet it, it gets soaked, you can just lather with your shampoo, you just keep going with the process, you don't really have to aggravate or work the water through your hair, then you probably have higher porosity hair. So to test this, I literally just went into the shower, had a bucket of water, and I wanted to take you guys along with me, so I filmed part of it. Just taking one bowl of water and drenching my hair in it to see how quickly it would absorb it. Will it just lay on like the top layers, or will it make its way through the rest of the strands? And as you can see in the clip here, the water pretty much just stayed on the top layers of my hair. It didn't really make it through. Pause, that's French for stop. This is one way to get a general idea. I don't think this is a way to determine is it high or is it low. I think it helps you get a general idea. Usually, does my hair easily receive water or does it take a while? Because you really have to consider the physical nature of your hair as well. Like physically, my hair is coarse, it's coily, it's an actual physical barrier for that bowl of water to get through to the rest of my hair. I don't really know if I can attribute that solely to porosity. And then the second test, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, is taking a strand of hair, putting it in a cup of water, and watching to see if it floats or if it sinks to the bottom. So let's take a look at how my test went. So things to keep in mind when administering this particular test is, number one, what's the temperature of the water? You really have to make sure that it's like not hot water and it's not cold water, because that could affect how easily your hair is going to receive that moisture. Number two, okay, now this is where the nerdy side of me kind of comes out. I can't help but think the adhesive versus the cohesive property of water. If you guys remember from like high school, water is attracted not only to itself, but also to the container that it sits in. So if I'm placing a strand of water, I'm not supposed to aggravate it, because that's how the test is supposed to be done. You're not supposed to mess with it. You're not supposed to shake the table. You're not supposed to bump the cup, because that could change whether your hair floats or if it sinks. So if I'm just plopping my hair into a bowl of water, water has an adhesive property. Water molecules stick to themselves. So my hair follicle is not on its own going to just break through that barrier of water and sink to the bottom. So just to sum up, because I feel like I've said a lot of things, if you're going to do the water test, make sure it's on a clean strand. Make sure the water is warm, not hot, not cold, but like lukewarm. Keep in mind that things such as the adhesive versus cohesive property of water, the electrical charge of the water versus the static or electrical charge on your hair could also affect it. So just be mindful of these things and don't use that test as a definitive answer to whether you are high or low porosity. Third and final test that I came across was the bump test. So I have some hair that fell out from my last wash day here. I know it's kind of nasty, isn't it? But I had to save it for doing all these tests. So the bump test basically says that, okay, it's not a good strand to use. Let me use a different strand. So we have a strand here. You probably can't, oh yeah, you can see it. The bump test basically says you take a strand of hair, you run your finger alongside the strand, and if you feel a lot of ridges and bumps, it means that you have high porosity because your shafts are open. Pero like, if you don't feel nothing, then that means that you got low porosity hair. Really? Really? Like, I just feel like the shafts of your hair, aren't they like very, very like microscopically small? Based on that test, this would tell me I have low porosity because it feels smooth to the touch. I mean, yeah, when I get to the ends, I feel some bumps because the ends of my hair honestly are not the healthiest. I really need to trim. But if I'm going with that test, that would mean I have a low porosity hair. But I just don't know how accurate that test is because I don't think that it's that easy to detect just from physical touch. Maybe if you're watching this video and you have high porosity hair, confirmed high porosity hair, let me know if you've done the test and if you feel the shafts of your hair, it feels bumpy along the strand of your hair, because I don't know how accurate that is. Okay, so based on those 3 tests, it can be assumed that I have low porosity hair. So what do we do with all this information? If you have high porosity versus if you have low porosity, these are some things you should do, starting with low porosity. Your hair is actually prone to a lot of buildup because I'm sure you layer, you use different products, thick products, to make sure you're locking that moisture in. So you do have a lot of product buildup. It's important that you clarify your hair, because if you don't clarify your hair, you have 2 barriers for moisture in your hair. Number 1, the fact that it's low porosity, so your shafts aren't letting that much moisture in. And number 2, you actually have product acting as a barrier for more moisture to get into your hair. So you have to make sure that periodically you clarify your hair. And that's look, I'm preaching to myself. I'm the woman in the mirror because I mostly use moisturizing shampoos, but just recently I bought a Rasul clay to start clarifying my hair because I don't do a lot of clarifying. I don't use clarifying shampoos, but I think it's important that I introduce it to my regimen now. So number 2, you want to consider using heat when you deep condition your hair so that the heat can open up those cuticles and let the moisture in. So you can use heating caps, which I'm not really a fan of because the thought of putting something in the microwave and then placing it on my head next to my brain, like it's radiation, I don't know. There's also the Curi-Do steamers. I've really been eyeing that, and I think one of these days I'm gonna get one. It's just a matter of when. Those are also a good option. If you have a hooded dryer, you can put a shower cap on, sit under that to let the heat open up those follicles and let the deep conditioner in. Number 3, you want to layer products. So I'm sure you know about the LOC method, LCO, whichever one you prefer that works great for you. You want to layer products so that you have the moisture, but you're also sealing that with an oil to just make sure that that moisture is staying in place. And then number 4, the kind of products you use. You want to use products that attract moisture, humectants, emollients. So that's honey, that's glycerin, that's castor oil. Those 3 are great humectants to use. I remember when I first started off my natural hair journey, I used quite a bit of, I used to mix conditioner, glycerin, and water in a bottle to spray my hair when I was moisturizing midweek. And I used a lot of castor oil. Castor oil was like the main oil I used on my edges when I used to massage my scalp, which I don't do a lot of because I don't like buildup on my scalp. But castor oil was a staple in my natural hair journey when I started off. So then what about my high porosity folks? here are some things you can do to help with your high porosity hair. Number one, you want to actually utilize protein treatments. Because your shafts are open, there might be gaps and holes in your hair strands, and you want to fill those in with protein to strengthen your hair strands, because more than likely you probably have fine or thinner hair strands. Number two, you want to deep condition actually quite frequently. I deep condition every time I wash my hair, which is practically weekly. If you're not doing that, I would encourage you to do so, because you want to introduce that moisture to your hair, because again, as it's easily coming into your hair, it's also easily leaving, so you want to reintroduce it back into your hair quite frequently. Because like I said, easy in, easy out. You want to seal that moisture in your hair with heavier butters like shea butter or olive oil. Olive oil is known to be a great hair shaft penetrator. So using heavier oils on your hair strands is key. And then I also read that apple cider vinegar and aloe vera help give you more balanced pH and also helps close your shafts. So you can consider incorporating those into your hair routine. Okay guys, so that brings us to the end of the video. I've talked about what hair porosity is, how to determine your hair porosity and what to do with the kind of porosity you think or you might know that you have. I hope this video was informative. I'll link some of the articles I read down below so you can research for yourself. You can read up on it for yourself. It was really interesting just learning about porosity and all that stuff. I really wish I could talk to a chemist that actually knows about the chemical properties of hair to just get a better understanding, because I think that we're just scratching the surface with what I've talked about in this video. But if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, baby girl, subscribe. What are you waiting for? Please, thank you. And that's it for today, guys. I will see you in my next video. Deuces.